Why, hello. It's me again. Hope you're not tired of seeing me yet. I want to talk to you about fertilizers, chemicals, and the like. And I want to show you a little experiment and possibly just share some things with you. Maybe you know it and have forgotten about it, or you don't know it, but at any rate, fertilizing your plant is important, and there are correlations between inside of the house and outside of the house. There are correlations between who we are and who our plants are. What the earth is to us and what the earth is to our plants. As they say, everything goes around in a circle, and hopefully I'll show you part of that circle, and then you can close the loop for yourself later on. Okay? We're going to start with me shutting this phone off. I guess I need to get my gloves off here first. And let's see. Okay. To start with, let's talk about fertilizers. See the numbers here, 13, 13, 13. Okay? Over the years, I've actually had people to ask, doesn't matter what the age or the experience, you know, they ask, okay, what does that mean? You know, these numbers. I see different numbers on different products and so forth. Well, here you go. We're going to start with the first 13 here. Oh, also, none of these products am I advertising or any way attempting to disparage, okay? So I tried to cover up the labels or whatever, but I need to show you different elements. So in no way am I advertising or trying to badmouth anybody's products. So here we go. This first number is for your nitrogen, and in this case I've got calcium nitrate, okay? And you can see right here, they've got it broken down, 15.5-0-0, okay? The other two elements are virtually nil. Even though they put 0 here, I contend that these elements are assayed to 0. In other words, they're so minuscule that they don't bother counting them. Nothing is an island unto itself. There's no void or vacuum in this world, okay? Everything is contaminated with something else. So they just can't, or they just disregard the small amount of the other elements. But anyway, you see here there's a 13. That means the percentage of that element is provided to that degree in that product, okay? Nitrogen can be derived from plant materials, in this case, rock material, whether it's oyster shells or whether it's stone quarried, you know, so the thing is that you've got nitrogen, aluminum sulfate, okay? Still a nitrogen product for you. So anyway, you got the first element there. The next element, okay, we have your phosphate, okay? And I only knew that because it's like right here in the middle, see? You know better than that, right? So anyway, your 13 right here is assayed in this product to 45. This element right here is specifically formulated to be as strong as it is because it is broken out and away from these other elements. If you're going to do something specific with it and you just need that extra little boost that this product may not provide for you, or whatever other product. It could be 666, triple 10, triple 12. So anyway, this superphosphate, and this is triple superphosphate, gives you the phosphorus material or phosphate material that you need in your plants, okay? And usually the package will show you and tell you what it's good for, okay? So, like this calcium, that's good for your upper areas, your leaves and such, and in general, because you're putting something into it, it's good for the overall plant. You know, like I told a neighbor today, it doesn't matter what you do as far as fertilizers go, as long as you give your plant some kind of fertilizer, it's better than nothing, especially when you see your plant is suffering, okay? So, the first two elements, and then this is your last element. See, again, I wouldn't know that unless they got it marked here on the back. 60, okay? This is potash, okay? So, what's potash? Basically, it's the stuff that's in your charcoal. When you burn up wood or when other things burn up, material usually is wood, then what's left over is your potash, okay? Potassium is right here, your potash, okay? So your potash is basically going to help your root systems, okay? So just like the plant or the position of this, your first element for the top, this is for your mid. So in other words, it goes top and bottom a little bit, but your trunk, things like that to help your plant bloom and flower better. And this is for like your roots. So in other words, they got it on the package. Potatoes, your root crop, it helps stabilize the roots of your plant, okay? To give it a stronger growing habit, okay? So, 3 elements broken down right here in these 3 packages, right here. Nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, okay? And no matter where you get it, it is beneficial for your plant. But again, depending on the type of plant you have, whether it's just a green leafy material, or whether it's going to put on flowers, or whether it's growing under the ground, you want to, in that order, you want to add more of that particular element to augment the growth of your plant, okay? Now, people say, don't use this in potted plants. I take this stuff and I broadcast it all around, okay? And the few granules that quite often, I just take a little cup and I broadcast it. And the few granules that fall into a pot is going to be enough to help my different plants. So I actually do allow this to fall into my potted plants and including my bonsai. Now, depending on where I am and what I'm doing at the time, I go right behind it and wash the plant down with the water hose, okay, or with the water. In other words, I don't want this stuff sitting on the leaves if it's a morning with dew or whatever. If it's a dry day, for the most part, this is going to fall. I mean, you know, so I'm not recommending you do that, but I'm saying with my experience and the way I grow stuff and my experimentation, I want to see what goes on, what happens with this or that. And I'm going to do some odd things. But I know better. If I'm throwing this on a juniper, for example, I'm not going to just throw this and let it sit. The juniper has so much needle foliage that I need to wash that off immediately. So that's what I'll do. But broadcast this around, it gives everything a general fertilization and an augmentation or a little boost, you know, when you can't go and use the other materials. Now, having shown you these different elements, the separate elements of your fertilizer, and I mentioned there's a circle of life. So what has baking soda and baking soda and baking powder? See, I didn't know which was which until I read the labels. But anyway, these are the same thing I just showed you in part, okay? They're fertilizers, baking soda and baking powder. This baking soda is actually in this particular brand of baking powder. They call it double action baking powder, okay? Because it has the baking soda in it and it has the baking powder in it. So they call it double action. It's just like I showed you here. Triple superphosphate, there's a double superphosphate, which equates to this double action baking powder, okay? It has the two items in it, the phosphate, right? Okay, you can even see right there. And the soda, the bicarbonate soda, okay? Which, you know, you've seen or heard of people having upset stomachs. They'll mix up some of this, take a swig of it, and they'll either bring it up or they'll feel better. So anyway, this is your fertilizer. Or you can put it in pancakes, cookies, cakes. Circle of life. This is the same thing. These elements are what our body needs, but we can't ingest it in these different forms, okay? Your plants do that for you, and that's why it's good to eat your vegetables, children. So this is processed with in a different way than this is, okay? This is processed to food grade standards. This is not, okay? But they're the same, well, all three of these elements put together are the same things that you have right here, okay, in your baking soda and your baking powder. The baking soda used way back in the ancient times, as a matter of fact, you know, so it's nothing new. But I guess when people saw that it bubbled and created, you know, reaction with other things, they said, okay, let's try it with this, or let's try it with that. It beats me how people become so smart to know how to take a rock and grind it up, or some kind of mineral, grind it up, and end up putting it in our food. You know, who knew to go take calcium, oyster shells, or some kind of limestone, grind it up and eat it, or add it to your food to make you healthier? I don't know who invented that or who thought of it first. Who in the world thought of eating okra or oyster first? I don't know. Now those folks I can fault, but the ones that thought of this kind of stuff, I don't fault them in the least. Okra, ugh. But anyway, you think about it. And I'm only throwing this out here for you to think about it and do your own research. I know a little bit more about this stuff because I do this. I garden with it. I use the different elements, and I've been doing it for a while. And I know how to bake a cake from scratch, and the icing too. Or make cookies because I watch Martha Stewart. So anyway, let's go on to the next thing. What kind of fertilizers are you going to use? I've already mentioned that I actually broadcast this granular stuff out as cheap as I can get it. On the day that I got this, a friend went to a place that I normally don't go. So for $6, I got this, I think it's like a 50-pound bag. So I got several of those. Normally in the stores around here, a 50-pound bag of this is non-existent, but if it were around, you know, 15, 20, 30 bucks, depending on the elements that you have in it. This stuff, it's a coated fertilizer, okay? Pelleted, has pellets, and the fertilizer is encapsulated in it. A lot of people know it by different names, different brands, and this particular fertilizer is rated for 3 months. Okay, so this container in the store right now, depending on where you are, is anywhere from well, we'll say $11 to $15, okay, in the store. And they say it's a 2-pound container. Well, I buy this in bulk. In other words, I buy a bag similar to this at the seed and feed shop near me, and I'll pay $85 or $90. Just like everything is going up. I used to pay $75 and $80 just a year ago for a 50-pound bag of that stuff. Now it's about $90 with tax and everything for the bag. But guess what? You can fill up so many of these. I've already filled up out of that one bag more than 15 of these containers, okay? So I'm spreading this stuff around, and yet I get a better monetary value out of it when I buy it in bulk. If you don't use that much, then hey, this is gonna work just fine for you. Okay, this is gonna work. I mean, obviously I bought some, and they've got the pink one. You know, they're rated for different things, but the container works for me. Also, for the fertilizer, this is a powdered or liquid soluble material right here, okay? And they come in 4 individual packets in this container. Now, I don't have the packets in there. I use the container to put this same kind of material in it, and I keep it in strategic places wherever I happen to be. Like you see this table that I'm working on. This is out in the middle of nowhere, but it gives me a place to sit, and if I want to work right here under the pine tree with the sun shining on a nice, moderately warm day, then I can do that. See, I have the option, the latitude to do that, but I reuse the containers. But this comes in 4 individual packets, and of course you can put it on the hose attachment and just spray. The good thing about this liquid fertilizer is that you can put it into a sprayer and spray the foliage as well as the rest of the plant, okay? Or you can mix it up into a container and just pour it on the root system. The foliage feeding, this is excellent. And of course you can do some of your fish oil or fish fertilizers, fish-based fertilizers, or your seaweed, or your other type liquid fertilizers. You can do that also. Hydroponics is good for having some great products that's liquid that you actually mix with water, and you can foliar feed, or you can just pour it right on the roots. Now the fish stuff, it's going to smell, so don't do it on your houseplants unless you're ready for it. But anyway, this is a good buy, a good value. It's a good product. And the thing about this, you can use this stuff as much as you water. You can fertilize with this, and it's not going to really kill your plant. I mean, the plant will turn so deep dark green or whatever color it is that you'll think it's artificial, but I haven't been able to kill a plant yet, and I've tried using this. I don't mean anything crazy like dumping the whole packet on one plant, but you know, a strong above recommendation mixture, and just fertilizing the plant with it, you know, day after day. So this is really safe to use indoor, outdoor plants, whatever. Okay, summer, winter, it doesn't matter. This works pretty good. And it's a handy container once you've emptied it. So, fertilizers. different types, different elements have different purposes. So now what I want to show you is this right here. The sulfur. It's a fungicide, okay? Sulfur is a pest deterrent. Sulfur is something that for some plants they can use a small amount of it to help in its nutrient uptake, okay, to help with its overall vigor. For one thing, being a fungicide, if you keep the fungus away, the plant is going to be healthier, okay? Now again, with mineral uptake, there's always constituent elements which are needed for optimum nutrient and moisture uptake, okay? For example, I'm talking about a fungicide here. Well, a fungus, the mycorrhizome or rhizome fungus itself, which is in the ground here underneath this pine tree naturally, and I inoculate the plants and the hole that I put the plant in with the mycorrhizome fungus, or the mycorrhiza fungus, to help the nutrient uptake. And believe me, it works. I mean, I've got plants out here 2, 3, maybe 4 years old, and they're triple or double the size of plants I have other places that are just as old or even older. So, but again, I don't want all of my trees to be super large or growing faster than I can handle dealing with them. So anyway, consider your lime sulfur. Now this is not to be confused with the liquid lime sulfur that we paint our dead wood and whatnot. This stuff is dustable. In other words, you can spread it around. But let me warn you, if you spread it around, you need to do it on a calm, non-windy day, because this stuff will get all over you. And just like the lime sulfur, when this mixes with water, it creates sulfuric acid, okay? And you won't like the smell of it. It will get on you and it will stay on you. It will get in your clothes and it will stay on your clothes. Even after you've laundered your clothes, depending on the fibers of your clothes, especially cotton, this will stay, it will persist, okay? So, as far as it getting on you, well, try this. Well, let me do it this way. Try baking soda. Make a slurry, wash it in your hand, wash it on your face. It's an exfoliant also. It's mild and gentle, yet effective. And cheap. I think I paid 85 cents for that. But anyway, this stuff is good. Oh yeah, if you got hot peppers, capsaicin, that is, the oil and such on you, right here will minimize, if not completely reduce, the capsaicin. This stuff is a neutralizer. Battery acid, neutralize it, okay? So, good stuff, good remedies. So, you consider that. That's why I'm mad, because I think of stuff like that, and I deal with it. So, anyway, this is a good duster. I spread it around this place. I try not to get it too much on my junipers. I was going to say conifers, but I don't have conifers. Conifers are out west and up north somewhere. I got junipers and pine trees. I'm from the south, okay? So let's move on to the next thing. What do I want to show you? We're talking fertilizers. How about this? You got fungus, black spot, mold, stuff like that. Mold and fungus, well, fungus is all around, okay? The spores are floating in the air. Cheesemakers go crazy when they get contaminated molds and fungus in their cheeses. Except for that blue cheese stuff, they're happy to have that. Well, whatever. Hey, Bree. She's a nice girl, but her cheese is... Sorry for any Brees out there. But anyway, what was I talking about? Bleach. Okay, you can disinfect your work benches, your tree benches with this stuff. nothing is going to sterilize this earth, okay? Your work area, your plants or whatever. But it will, just like hand washing to keep colds and flus and sickness away, this will minimize the colony count. So you figure out what works for you, okay? Whatever ratio to water, and you could actually add a little dish detergent if you're going to go for pests, you know, mites and things like that, if you need to reduce the count. But typically you want to let the ladybugs and the wasps take care of your little mites and your thrips and things like that, you know. But I mean, if they're sucking the life out of some of your precious plants, kill them all, kill them quick, kill them now. But a little bleach and water. I used to take my dish water, which has the dish soap, and I throw this on my camellias and my gardenias, because they would have moldy soot on them, okay? The black moldy soot. And it was because they were getting sucked by the little critters that were on them. And it was just ugly and nasty. But not only did this and the soap detergent get rid of the pests, it cleaned the leaves. In other words, it kind of washed and bleached the leaves, and it fertilized the plant also. And so, in particular, my gardenias, they thrived and burst forth with beautiful flowers, and, you know, I was happy. It didn't harm the other animals around, you know, the rabbits that come through here and the little, I guess you can say the beneficial snakes and the turtles and things like that. So I don't use this very much now because, as you see, I've got gloves on. I am full of this stuff. So this is toxic to me now. Bleach is. If I use it in a, well, it doesn't matter, inside or outside. If I smell the odor of it, if I get it on my hand in the least, a raging headache. So I grew up, we washed dishes with bleach in the water. You know, we did laundry back in those days. We used wash tubs until we finally got a washing machine. Well, I did have shoes, okay, so it wasn't that bad. But anyway, so over the years of using this stuff, I'm just loaded with it now. And there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine except for them headaches. So if I made that clear, like murky clear, you can use bleach in solution with water, diluted to your particular taste, okay, to get rid of sooty mold and also to help rid yourself of pests. But it is also like a fertilizer. Chlorine is a constituent, or at least it used to really be high in the nitrogen content of fertilizer, okay? So, another thing, people talk about salts. You know, oh, my plant's got salt on the bottom of the pot, it's all around the edge. Well, the salts that they're talking about it's not this kind of salt. You know how that man said, it's not that kind of movie, bro. It's not this kind of salt, it's not table salt. The precipitates or the exudates, the remainder, the leftover, whichever way you want to look at it, after the plant has eaten, if you will, okay? After the moisture flows and, you know, everything, the chemical transactions have expired, what's left, those are your salts. So you could have a bunch of stuff in there, including the stuff that you actually wanted to feed your plants, okay? But the plant could not take it up for one reason or another. Let's say your plant was suffering from a calcium deficiency in the soil, okay? And so the plant not having the calcium to help uptake the nutrients that it needed, you know, extra things are left over. The mycorrhizome, okay, fungus, will help your plants to establish all of the trace elements that it needs. So that's the benefit of that. But again, all that stuff that I don't have a pot around here to show you. I mean, I got a pot to, you know, well, like I said, I got a pot to water with, but I don't have a pot to show you the salts on the bottom of a bonsai container. But anyway, all that stuff on the bottom, including the lime, you know, which is calcium, you know, all that stuff, that's what the salts are. Now, what does that do? It clogs up the system. It gums up the work, in simple terms, because I'm just a simple kind of guy. So you want to clean your pot. You want to change your soil out periodically, because with all the fertilization and everything that you're doing to your plant, and the plant takes nitrogen from the air, from the rain, especially when the ionization is high, electrical storm days. Boy, I tell you what, I'm not about the lightning and such, but when the energy in the atmosphere is high, boy, I'm just loving it. I mean, May, June, July, when we have a prolonged storm period, I can do repotting. I can dig small plants, bare root, and do things that I normally wouldn't be able to do, even though June is typically a dormant season for, let's say, the trident maple. I do things that on a normal hot sunny summer day that I wouldn't, I mean, I would dare try, but I wouldn't try, and generally it wouldn't be successful. But again, that's about ionization and nitrogen coming from the, you know, atmosphere. Plants take up nutrients from different ways, by different ways other than just the roots. And for the most part, even uptake of the root system of nitrogen, phosphate, potassium, moisture, and all this stuff is augmented by the, and I'm saying this over and I'm saying it again, by the mycorrhizome fungus. I mean, it works wonderfully, and I just can't say it enough. So, I mean, it'll make do if you don't have the augmentation of that, because there's going to be, like I said before, there's nothing that's an isolation or a vacuum unto itself. There's always some traces of something somewhere that we're hoping that is in the soil, or expecting it in the soil, or hoping that it's not there. There's always going to be a trace of it. So anyway, the next thing I want to share with you, this is grapeseed oil. This is a food grade grapeseed oil. And let's say you got standing containers that you catch your rainwater, or you collect water off the roof or whatever. Rather than putting caustic chemicals in your water, you could just dab a little bit of this grapeseed oil in your water. Not a whole lot of it, you know, just a drop or two. And I would agitate it if possible, but let it disperse over the top of that. And this will take care of mosquitoes and other kind of bugs, tadpoles, you know, harboring in your water, and you know, other little waterborne things, dragonflies, you know, they love water too. So a little bit of grapeseed oil, that'll work also. Now, protecting your plant, cleaning your plant, well, there was a label on there. Isopropyl alcohol, okay? You can clean your tools with this stuff. You can wipe your plants down. Let's say you're grafting in particular, or you see a little spot of fungus or something that you want to investigate. You can use the isopropyl alcohol. You got cuttings, you can dip it in this stuff, you know, trying to eliminate or reduce the bacteria count around your plant. You can mix it with your rooting powder or your rooting hormone. It'll burn you, but it seems not to harm the tissue of your plants. Not to mention, alcohol is made from sugar, okay? Just like your vodka. you know, like your vinegar. So, you know, there's sugars in this thing, and it seemed to help the plant. Let's see what else we got here. Hydrogen peroxide, another thing to clean your plants with. You got a sick looking plant, you can take your brush, a little hydrogen peroxide and some water. You can wash away the fungus, bacteria, mold, whatever you may happen to have on there. Again, you can clean your tools with this also. And it, again, just reduces the colony count. Doesn't eliminate everything. Or you can make a little water solution, rinse your mouth out. Especially when you use those bad words. Rinse your mouth out with this. Sorry. But anyway, there are folks who've said they've had broken branches or sick trees or whatever, and they've used this to help their tree recover, okay? I mean, I use it on my sick trident maple, okay? My trident maple is still over there. Yeah, I used the mycorrhizome fungus. I changed the soil. I did a lot of other things. I hand cleaned the tree to reduce the fungus on it. But the tree will always have a fungal issue. But it's as healthy as it can be, and it's as healthy as pretty much anything around here. It's growing like gangbusters right now, and so is the top out of it. So any advantage that I can take on my precious plants, I'm going to take it. Now, something that I'm not so over the top about, I'll use this as an experiment to see what I can get away with. And now, let me try to show you something here. Here we have some cheap vinegar. This is a rock. It has a crystalline structure, so I'm kind of assuming this is quartz. Not too much activity there. All right. This is a piece of concrete. Hopefully you can see that. See it foaming up? See that? See the foam there? And what's happening here is the vinegar, which is an acid, is reacting with the lime in this concrete, okay? I'm hoping there we go. Maybe you can see that. See all that foaming and fizzing? It's not just that the moisture of the vinegar is penetrating the pores of the concrete. It is actually the chemical reaction. It is actually the chemical reaction of the lime. And this is like a feather rock material that has a pretty good lime concentrate in it also. It's foaming. I don't know if you could actually see it. This is a multimedia rock. In other words, it has what seems to be a harder rock concentration with lime kind of rock or inside of it also. So it's a mixture. It's very porous, but it's foaming, it's bubbling. So this has a lot of lime in the rock itself. Let's see here. This looks more, yeah, this looks more quartzy. So it's pretty well non-reactive. Why am I showing you this? There's a nice rock. This comes out of Georgia, and this is a lime rock. Not very much reaction, so a lot less reaction than I thought there would be in this rock. But I mean, I can see what looks like to be quartz. I can see on certain areas here, the sun glinting off of the crystalline structure. I heard that on TV sometimes back. Somebody was talking about crystalline structures with aliens and stuff. Boy, I just love them aliens. They got all kinds of structures. I'll do this again. I have no idea what kind of rock this is, but it is reactive. I'm not sure if the camera will pick that up, but I can see it bubbling, just foaming away. And that is really reactive. This is some kind of concrete material. So, yep. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, if you're going to do root over rock, and if you just happen to know that your plant does not like lime, okay, then you perhaps want to stay away from a particular rock. And that's a way that you can test and see if you got a high lime concentrate in your rock, okay? So with that, that's pretty much it. So where does that leave me? It's time to sing. I guess I'll sing you a song. Well, maybe not. So anyway, the different constituent elements of fertilizer broken down for you. Nitrogen, phosphate, potassium. Nitrogen from the rainwater, from vegetable material, from chemical materials. Phosphates, you can get that stuff from, let's say, from some of your vegetable matter, if they're high in phosphates. Crushed rock material. Do you remember that they used to have phosphates in your washing detergent, your dish detergent, and your laundry detergent, including some of your soap? Not to mention soap was used, they used potash in your soap. Lye soap, you ever hear of that? That they boil the fat from animals down and mix that with charcoal from the wood to make the lye soap. Dangerous stuff, caustic stuff, but that's what they use. All of this stuff was in that to wash your clothes, and it did a lot better than this vegetable-based laundry detergent and dish detergent that we have nowadays. But anyway, the different elements for cookies, but not only cookies, for your plants too. For cakes, but not only cakes, for your little plants also. So there you have it. That's my day. I'm going to watch me some NASCAR Xfinity racing. What about you?